The International Phonetic Alphabet is a writing system that is used in a lot of different professions and fields, including acting, singing, language learning, speech therapy, and, of course, linguistics, which is where it comes from. It was designed to represent every sound used in a spoken language. Here are some strings of IPA and what the words represent: shoelace, plasticine, tangible, dominion, foxtrot. In order to make clear that they're using IPA, many people put brackets around the strings of letters. There are two primary types of brackets, slashes and square brackets. Each of these has a specific use case, and mixing them up can be quite the blunder. But before I get into the correct usage, I should explain what I mean by correct, and I should be clear about why I'm making my video. There is a standard usage outlined by the International Phonetic Association, which is common practice among linguists. If you use brackets per their guidelines, you don't need to explain how they work. You can just go ahead and use them. You can still use the brackets in other ways. That's totally fine. However, there are two things you have to do that are very important. One, know that you're diverging from the standard, and two, tell people you're diverging from the standard. If you don't do this, linguists will get confused. Real quick, let's look at the fields of theoretical linguistics. Right now we only care about these two, phonetics and phonology. These are separate fields of study that both tackle the sounds of language. Phonetics describes how the sounds are produced by the vocal tract and how they're perceived. Phonology describes how humans conceptualize those sounds inside their brains. Square brackets come from the field of phonetics and describe how something is pronounced. Simple as that. Whatever is in square brackets is an instruction on what to do with your tongue, lips, jaw, velum, uvula, pharynx, larynx, and maybe even your epiglottis if you get lucky. Slashes come from the field of phonology and do not tell you how to pronounce anything on their own. Along with the transcription in slashes, you need a set of rules from how to get from what's in the slashes to what's in the square brackets. Whatever's in the slashes is called the underlying form, or underlying representation. This represents how the brain conceptualizes the word before subconsciously applying various sound changes. For example, in English, we take the D in ladder and turn it into a flap, making the word pronounced ladder. In Brazilian Portuguese, the underlying form of the word for olive oil is azeite, but it ends up being pronounced as azeite due to sound changes. Here are some other things to keep in mind. Slashes are always language specific. You need to know what language the phonemes are in so you know what rules to apply to them. Slashes are not objective. There may be, and very frequently are, multiple different possible analyses for the underlying form of a language, but the contents of square brackets can be measured using a spectrogram or a program like Pratt, so they are far more objective. So here's a simple flowchart. Are you describing pronunciation? Yes? Then use square brackets. No? Then are you making a claim about how you think speakers of a specific language conceptualize the sounds before specific changes apply to them? Yes? Then use slashes. No? Well, just don't use brackets. Omitting brackets is super duper underrated. Everyone feels a need to use brackets all over the place, but a lot of the symbols in IPA are exclusive to the IPA. Like if you use EJ and schwa together, what else is it besides IPA? So if you don't know which brackets to use, just leave them out and leave it to context. Besides phonetics and phonology, there may even be cases where you shouldn't use brackets at all with IPA. Some languages, such as Ewe, use a writing system based off the IPA. These don't use brackets. It would be strange to see them use brackets. So I'll repeat this for the ones in the back. Unless you are making a specific claim about what the underlying form is for a specific language and what phonological rules are applying to that underlying form before a word gets pronounced, you should not be using slashes. If you don't know what that means, you shouldn't be using slashes at all. In fact, you should be scared of them. Ah, they're terrifying. Slashes are so scary. I'm gonna make a Halloween special that is just gonna be slashes, just you wait. But lipamanca, I hear you say, in very fashion. I thought slashes meant broad transcription and square brackets meant narrow transcription. Well, man I made from straw, you'd be right. In very specific contexts. These contexts being, of course, when someone specifies that they are using them for this. But most of the time, broad and narrow transcription are both put in square brackets. What do broad and narrow mean? It's simple. Broad transcription is much less detailed than narrow transcription. The narrow transcription may attempt to exactly describe the pronunciation and tongue placement using a lot of diacritics and less common IPA symbols than normal, and broad transcription is lower effort and may focus more on allophones. Broad transcription may even only use symbols from the base Latin alphabet. Usually I don't see this distinction named. If I see an epsilon transcribed, I'm going to assume that it's probably one of, at least 7 possible more specific ways of notating a more specific version of it. If I see a bunch of diacritics on it, it's probably not necessary to write all of those diacritics to understand the underlying form, or even the allophony. Allophony? As for use cases where slashes are used for broad transcription and square brackets are used for narrow transcription, I could see someone who doesn't have access to a good IPA font trying to use as few non-base alphabet characters as possible. Indeed, the IPA handbook lists this as a usage, but I would expect to be told that this is what the brackets were being used for. And in this digital age where most computers come with functional IPA fonts, and we have accessible websites and keyboards for typing IPA symbols, or even Discord bots that can convert ASCII to IPA, the utility is dwindling. And just to make this clear to everyone, a transcription can be as detailed or as undetailed as you want it to be, and you can still put it in square brackets. You should not be scared of square brackets at all. Nobody should be yelling at you for not transcribing precisely enough. If a diacritic is non-contrastive, you can probably leave it out without worrying too much. For some reason, this concept of broad and narrow transcription has become the most popular usage in conlang spaces, and in my opinion, this is for the worse. It leads to diacritic bloat, it is genuinely more confusing because it's less rigorously defined. It also leads to a flawed understanding of phonology, which, I should really make a video introducing phonology to conlangers, because most of the stuff online for phonology and conlangers is not great. Like, did you know that syllabic structure is an analysis that tells you what happens when a word doesn't fit the language's template, not a template itself that words just kind of have to fit into? If all words fit into a syllabic template, then syllable theory isn't a tool you need to analyze a language. Also, syllable theory is mostly prose, and nobody knows what an appendix is or a coda condition, but they think they have to put the coda in parentheses. Okay, but that's a tangent. If you see someone misusing brackets without specifying, you can send them this video or explain to them yourself, but please do not harass anyone for any reason. That would suck for this video to encourage harassment or bullying. So if someone is using this video to bully you, they are in the wrong and they should leave you alone. Ultimately, this is pretty low stakes. Eat a good veg.